Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. We're super excited to have a guest with us from the great state of Florida, Mr. Michael Falknor. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to start like we do with all our guests. If you wouldn't mind, what's your previous work history and that has led you up to what you're doing now? And then if you can kind of get into what that looks like.
Sure. So I have a cleaning service today, and before I started it in 2015, I did about 5 years of ministry work full-time at a men's recovery center in Delaware, which there's a whole long story to that. But I haven't had like a lot of jobs. So in my adult career, that was one of the primary things I did to that point, is helping people in ministry. And I just had some people around me at that time say, what do you feel like God's pushing you into, or leading you into, or whatever? And I just felt like a pull out of full-time ministry to something, and had some good friends just say, like, have you thought about doing your own service rather than going up the corporate ladder? Because I'd always thought that I could be like a good manager somewhere. I'd had those kind of jobs before, and but with them and their help and their insight, with their experiences being an entrepreneur with their own service or industry that they have, they helped me kind of connect with myself to see that there is something there that I could have as my own. And I thought about it, and I just said, oh, I'm going to try it out. So I started out my own cleaning service from there, and the rest is history. So before it was just a lot of ministry work, which I still do part-time, worship leader part-time, about 10 hours a week at my local church, and still a big part of my life. But that's a little bit of background before I got started with this industry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Home services seems to be something that at least is in my YouTube algorithm quite a bit, because there are people who are looking at it as low overhead companies that you can get started and they're scalable. Mm-hmm. So what was the thing that got you started, or said, let's go with a cleaning company? Because I'm assuming that you weren't on YouTube going, this is a good idea, let's run with it.
Sure, like, why cleaning, right?
Yep.
So, the big thing that was the hardest hurdle to get over immediately was, like, most women clean, right? So how many guys will just go out there and be a cleaner? It just wasn't a thing. It's just always been a low percentage. So I knew I could clean well. I'm good at being organized, neat. And I was like, well, if I could go out and just make some bucks on my own, just to see what happens with it, I really like doing it. So it's kind of like, all right, feel like I'm not really working, just getting paid good for that and see what happens from it. So yeah, I got involved with that because I knew it'd be easy for me. And then I thought, if it does go well, it's probably going to be easy for me to scale, and I wouldn't lose like interest or passion for doing that kind of service. So, I mean, there's many different ones I could have chosen. And of course, overhead's extremely low. I just make yourself available, have enough gas money to get to a job, and it was a hustle at first, and that's all it was, is like, I didn't have much, and I just had small little ways to find out where I could go provide service at a low cost for someone and go from there and build it. So it's kind of how it started.
What was the first customer then?
The very first job was somebody I already knew in the real estate industry, because I had ministry connections with my last job. And I just told him, I said, I'm a cleaner now, and $15 an hour. That's where it all began. I said, I'll clean anything, man. And he said, here's the keys to a box truck. I got some houses that need a trash haul and a clean. And I was like, I'm on it. And I just said, I'll just bill you at the end of whatever the hourly rate is. Anyway, that's another funny story of how all that went down, because we don't do the kind of cleaning anymore.
Yeah.
I don't borrow someone's truck to go dump it at the dump. And I just strictly inside. But it's like I was just learning a lot of things. I would take any job. I would be very grateful for any work that I got, and I was truly grateful for it. But that's how it all started, to where I started learning how to do it well and what the niche is really. Yeah. Of what I like to do about it. So that was the very first one. His name's Frank. So thanks, Frank.
So what did the progression then look like in terms of you go from there to getting to the point where you were able to niche down a bit with the cleaning service, and now build it out to where you have a whole team?
Yeah. So I had some friends that like friends of friends that heard that I was cleaning at that time, and So one of my first clients that I had that were recurring, like residential cleaning clients, that was when I started doing like a biweekly clean with someone where it's just your typical housekeeping chores, all interior, just keeping up a house every 2 weeks. When I did that for the first time, there was a big light bulb in my head because it was recurring. Uh, the people know you. You get to know the things that they like, and it's very like you can push the autopilot mode on that, and it's very scalable. And that's something that I like. I like things that are very simple. I like to be inside. I don't like to do anything outside. And I mean, look at my fair skin. I can't be outside too long. So when I got that client, that was when I learned that I'd start zeroing in on the right kind of client, the right kind of lead. And then I did some vacation rental work. Vacation rentals seasonally can be very good. To this day, don't do many of them, but they usually pay better. They usually are. There's a lot out there to get if you just want to build up, some revenue on the side. But I did get into that for a while, and that was good for a while with the vacation rentals, especially in the right season for whatever region you're working in. But yeah, it all came back to those recurring biweekly, monthly housekeeping clients being the niche that we really like the most.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, as you started to scale that out, what did the lead acquisition or client acquisition look like? Was it all word of mouth? Was there anything that you did, even with word of mouth, to try and say, hey, how do we hammer this home? Or was there anything that you did advertising, marketing wise?
Word of mouth is still the best way that we get the best leads. I feel like I hear that a lot in other industries. And it just really comes naturally because when you do a good job, people talk. But outside of word of mouth, we did invest into Home Advisor in 2018. Got in with their Gateway program, which was the most incredible program they ever had. If anybody hears that and they were part of it, they know what I'm talking about, where they just paid a monthly price for free leads, and as much as they had that available at that month that you were in, they would just pass it out. So I took advantage of that for a couple years, and I didn't really need to do much more than investing into that, plus the word of mouth. And outside of that, Facebook has helped a little bit. I've had some people, kind of take charge of the Facebook account, and we can get into this later. I'm sure you'll have questions about this. I've had seasons where it wasn't really, I didn't really have good systems in place. So I was just kind of like dipping into anything I could to see what happens, and it just got out of control. I couldn't manage it. Mm-hmm. So when it came to the lead aspect with social media, I never quite got into it like I know a lot of people have. So, but yeah, the Home Advisor, it's now Angie Leads. They kind of merged, I guess, a few years ago. But we are still into that, and then word of mouth. Those are the two biggest right now.
Okay. So what has the experience been with the Angie's Leads at this point? Because I've heard mixed reviews, at least here in Arizona, from some friends of mine with how it works, and I think part of it might be different industries as well. But
yeah, So I will say you'd be very careful because there is a way on Angie Leads currently that you can select what your niche is. Like it'll tell you what kind of cleaning. There's like 100 options. Like what kind of cleaning? We just picked two. We just picked recurring housekeeping and one-time housekeeping. There's so many other things, window cleaning, or you can just add it on. And we don't do that because the kind of leads that you get, I'd say 40 to 60% of the leads that come in are legit. There are a lot of bogus leads, and I call those in, and they only give you a certain amount of credit for those. So there's like 10 to 15% of the total leads that you get, you're not going to get to talk to somebody. The number doesn't work. They'll tell you that it's a legit, sorry.
No worries.
They will tell you that it's a legit lead if no one was available to answer the phone, but you kind of think it is a bogus lead. So 10 to 15% overall you're going to lose out on, but I'd say on the flip side, 10 to 15% of those are going to be recurring clients. Recurring clients are going to pay for a lot of those leads that you paid for. So overall, if you are very good at managing what you're paying, looking into the options that service has, as I've been able to do with Angie Leads, it has been very profitable for us to the point where I turn it off. Like, you can turn it on and off. If I'm in a season where I need to hire someone and we don't need more jobs at the moment, just turn it off for a week or two, and once you turn it back on, you get enough of the legit ones where it makes sense. So, weigh it out. Make a wise decision with where you're at with the risk that you have with it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What was it like when you brought on your first employee? Did you have a certain criteria that you were looking for in terms of the amount of jobs that you had, the amount of money that you had in the bank? Was there something else that you were paying attention to say, it's time to make the jump and take this outside of just me by myself?
Yeah, great question. Knowing when, Dave Ramsey, I love the guy. He helped me and my family we didn't follow the exact formula, but the principles of Dave Ramsey we believe in is get yourself to a point where you have a comfortable nest just in case. Like, you never know, what do they call it, the Murphy's Law, your cousin Murphy's always going to come and steal, kill, and destroy something that you have at any moment's notice. So if you have a little security blanket there, it applies for businesses as well. I think it's a smart thing to do is before you make big decisions like maybe hiring, if that's a big decision for you, which I think a lot of small businesses it is, make sure you got a little bit of just in case on the side, some revenue saved, and then you're ready to invest because it's an investment, and you're going to go through the ups and downs of that. There's a whole story attached to that process. But when I believed I was ready, it was when I was overworked. I couldn't handle the amount of work, and I was the stress. There's a lot of stress that we can't handle that you just go through in life. But then you just feel that moment where there's just the wave after wave. It's like you need help. You just feel it, and so knowing that feeling's there and being wise to know when to pull the trigger with as long as you manage every other area of your business sensibly enough to make that decision. You just pull the trigger, you just try it out, and you get over the fear, because I had a lot of the fear. And I could tell you real quick, when I had to hire my first employee, I was so scared. I called one of my business coaches, which is a friend of mine. I called him and I said, Adam, it's time. Because he knew. I'd been talking. I said, I don't know what to do. Because I put out an ad on Craigslist. It's free. And I got 30 calls within like an hour.
Oh, dang.
And these are all strangers, and I'm not used to just strangers blowing up my phone.
Yeah.
So I got these calls. I didn't even know how to talk to all these people, and I'm the kind of person, I want to give people the time of day, and I just knew I could not cover all those needs. I couldn't call every one of them and have a conversation with them. And he said, first, you need to take a deep breath. And you need to know that it's okay if you can't get to some of them. You can send out a big old text message.
Yeah.
And he's talking me out through different ways and strategies where you don't have to get so personal with every single person. It's not possible. And just get over that and move forward. And then you'll have time to really filter through to find someone that fits what you're looking for. So, yeah, the fear, man, of that decision, that was big.
So was Craigslist the first place you got an employee from?
Craigslist, man, and it worked. I mean, I know there's I don't know if it's still to this day people giving it a bad name, because Craigslist killer was a thing back in the day. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
I did not.
There was a Craigslist killer. They were using the platform to get to know someone. But in the work industry, when there's jobs out there, there's just good filters you can have in place. Look, I'm not just inviting everybody into the full scale of my life. I'll go meet them somewhere that's not my house. And you can filter that out. Discernment really helps.
Yeah.
So, that's where anything that was free to get the word out, I was trying to find. That was one of them. And then Indeed is actually the one that I love to use currently. And there are ways to use that in a free way for small businesses that they're just not ready to invest a lot or scared to invest a lot. They can try it for free before they pay for those, because you can do both on that platform as well.
Nice.
So, but we love Indeed right now to use that for hiring.
Yeah. So we had a conversation last night about you prefer to have W-2 employees. And there's a lot of companies that I interact with on the construction side that they love to have 1099s. And I think a lot of times that it's an emotional stiff arm in a lot of cases because it's not my employee. So if I don't have work for them, it's, well, they're not technically my employee, but it's like after a certain point they work so regularly with them, it's like they are. But why did you decide to try and have primarily W-2 employees for your company? When especially
Yeah.
I'd say for the cleaning industry, it's pretty common to have 1099s.
Yes, and there's a lot about that, and the most way to simplify it, and I can definitely elaborate on that, is I do not like to get into waters that I am not fully ready for with the knowledge that you need to have. For example, I've heard stories of industries that have had 1099 cleaners, specifically in the cleaning industry, where not everything was done the right way according to the law, but they didn't really know, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know. They still get in trouble for that. They're still accountable to that. And I will say first and foremost, I don't really know what would be the ways around to try to make it look legal and keep it. I'm not that kind of, I don't want to be that kind of person where I would actually investigate something and try to do it the wrong way and say, well, maybe I'll get off the hook. I can't sleep at night with that kind of thinking. So I just know the way things are structured for W-2 employees, I might not be able to profit the most that some other industries would at the end of the day, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm not concerned about the short game. I'm concerned about the long game. If I do things the way I know that I'm confident that they're done the right way, and maybe I could have had a few extra bucks on the bottom line, I'd rather have the peace and sleep good at night so that I can be ready for the big end game that we're trying to get to. So maybe it is better in a lot of cases to have 1099. I'm not ready for some of those waters. So if I'm not ready for it, I just know I can have more control with W-2 employees. I love that aspect, not because I like to be controlling. I'm naturally very orderly, and there are things that I just know work really good if you have the ability to speak that direction with your team. But I know 1099, there's certain things that I would speak to employees. I know they're not bound to by law, and I can't sleep on that the right way. So,
Right.
So that's where I land. And I've had 1099s before, and I saw the benefit of financial. I was like, man, this is great. And then I started to question some of the legal aspects of it because I was asking them to do the same thing my employees were doing. I'm like, I'm getting out of that immediately. So I switched it immediately. And to this day, if I choose to get more involved with learning both sides of it, maybe I would change in some aspects, but I might still lean towards W-2 still just because of the control aspect of the precise things that I really believe are going to make the difference that I would only have an employee be able to do based on the direction that I give. So I hope that kind of
that
shows the difference of where I landed.
Yeah, and I think from the little bit I understand with the difference between 1099 and W-2, it seems like there's certain regulations with the amount of hours they're allowed to work, the percentage of their income, and then you can get in trouble with things. So I think for you especially, it's like you're just de-risking the whole situation.
Sure.
And risk is a part of a long-term projection for a company. So it's like, it's just, once again, it's just business.
Yeah, and like I said, if there's things I learn in the future, I'll gladly change if it benefits a company. That's definitely, and there's always somebody that knows a little bit more. So I hope to run into the right people to help me understand those things.
Or says they know a little bit more.
What's that?
Or says they know a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too, yeah. Oh, yeah, and then you learn. Like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the direction you like to give your team, what specific things do you try and communicate to them when they're either working with you in someone else's home or process-wise? What's this communication, if it's training or way that you want things done that you feel like is very important for you or very specific for you?
Yeah, and I won't get into like some of the detail tasks that we train, but when in more of a bigger sense, when someone is, coming on board with us, we have generally it's a 2-week process. there's going to be either myself or one of our seasoned cleaners that part of training is part of their role, if needed and when needed. They would hang out with someone for 2 weeks, and we have 4 styles of cleaning. Each style has key elements that make that clean unique in its own way, that makes it stand out. Those key elements is something that we, for the first 2 weeks, we just want to make sure that gets imprinted very well. People come in with, ways that they do like to do things. I've had a lot of people come in to our company and they'll say, oh, I know how to clean. I've cleaned this, I've cleaned that. Honestly, I almost prefer someone that has no cleaning experience, because it's a very easily trainable task if somebody has a positive attitude and is teachable. Because there could be a lot of bad habits. And if those bad habits translate to where we can't get them to switch to those key elements in our training of those 4 kinds of cleans, that does make it difficult, to where they almost feel like it would be better if they just did their own. They like to do it a certain way. You can gladly do that on your own, but we have a certain way that we like to do, because when the client sees our work and those key elements shine, that's the difference that puts us ahead of other people. And that's where we just believe it's worth that much to train those things. So the training process, it sounded like a multiple question, or 2-part question. I missed the first part, maybe.
No,
Or
that
that
was
was
it for
pretty
the
much
most part,
it.
just as far as what specifically gets communicated to the team. So that's...
Yeah, so
That's
the training process is key. If they can go through that and learn those key elements, it's really going to set them the right direction. There's a whole lot we can get into. I didn't know how much further, but I'm sure some of your other questions will bring up some of those other elements.
Yeah. One of the things I was interested in was you have not just Florida, but you also have Tennessee as an area that you guys are serving.
Used to.
Oh, used to.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we could talk about
We
that.
can
in
talk
terms
about
of,
Tennessee, yeah.
You had it advertised for 2 spots in Florida, 1 in Tennessee.
Right.
So how was it managing just such a... That's a big geographic area to be split between.
Yeah.
So how did that go? And then is there a reason behind focusing more?
I got married.
There we go.
Yeah, honestly, it really that if we're summing it down to one word, so we haven't updated the website. So you saw that. We'll get there. The website works very good, but whenever that comes up, I do have to correct people on that with the Tennessee division. 2022 officially was the last time we did work there. When I got married in 2020, I just could not travel like I used to. And
so, let's step back real quick then.
Yeah.
You had Tennessee and you had Florida at the same time.
I did.
Okay. What did that look like on a weekly, monthly basis, or whenever you were doing that?
So what that meant was I would have to have enough team players. I can't do all of the work. I was doing some of it. So I was at the level at that time when I opened up a new division, which was Tennessee. That was the newest one. Florida had been the first one. I lived in Tennessee for a year, helping launch a church, but on the side, I was just like, I'll open up a new division, the company here. And my whole mindset was, I'm just going to take on any work I can find. I knew that I was able to do it legally. It's in the United States. We're headquartered in Florida. Let's go. Let's see what we can do out here. And the sky was the limit. I'll try anything. And that's where I learned a lot about the 1099 thing. I had some people that I just chose to pay 1099. I feel like I did it fine, but it got a little sticky when I needed certain things done a certain way. And that's part of how it went down. It was just easy to manage contractors that were there that just already clean and everything. But the managing between, I had to travel pretty much 50-50. It was like I'm 50% here,
really?
Maybe like a week or two at a time. Yeah, it was just, I lived in 2 places.
You were flying back and forth?
Yeah, I had friends in Tennessee. I would just stay with them if I currently didn't have a lease for an apartment there, because I would lease an apartment for a few months in Florida, maybe lease a house in Tennessee for a few months with some friends up there, because I knew people in both states. And so if I was traveling, if I couldn't stay with a friend, I would just get a hotel for a week or two and just do that fun game for a while. And being single, it didn't do anything to me. It was just like, this is cool. You know,
Yeah.
it was cool to be able to say I can travel and do things like this and know that the sky's the limit with business. But I honestly, after a year of doing it, I was single at the time. I wanted to meet somebody. It was kind of high on my list of like dreams, goals that I wanted to have a family. So I got connected to a church in Tampa, um, and I'm really doing long story short with this. There's a story for every season here, and I ended up meeting my wife in 2019. And when that happened, I already looked ahead and said, I don't know about this whole Tennessee thing, and because of the whole switch to W-2 employees, the 1099 stuff that I just was not prepared to have the right knowledge for, I just said I have to slowly stop this in Tennessee. So it was like a slow, the next year and a half, 2 years, I just kind of like dwindled that down and got to a point in 2022 where I was like, we're just going to focus in Florida, and I can't be gone for more than 5 days at a time. It got to that point where we wanted to have a kid right away, and I needed my wife to know that the security's there, that it's not going to be one of these random, like, I got to go for a couple weeks kind of thing. And part of me had to die because I really enjoyed doing stuff like that. It was very exciting to me. I love challenges. And so I literally get excited driving if I drove up to Tennessee saying, I wonder how this is going to be successful. I just wonder how I'm going to pull this one out.
Yeah.
And so a part of me had to die with that, but there's new challenges for new areas. So we do Fort Myers and Tampa. So we're still stretched out. Fort Myers and Tampa is like 2.5 hour difference in drive time. So completely separate areas that we still have, and it's been manageable. So, but we're more focused in Tampa.
Yeah.
I have to say that's our home base. So
Nice.
I think just naturally that's just how it is.
Yeah. Did your wife have any comments towards the direction of, hey, what's going on with this Nashville thing? Or was she just like, all right, whatever you're doing, have fun, and we'll figure it out?
Yeah, we had the talk when we were dating. I brought that up early. I said, this is what I do for work. I travel. I need to know you're okay with this. I'm kind of like throwing it down strong, right? Because if you want to call that a negotiation, it doesn't sound like it's more like a demand. But I threw that down there because I believed in it so strongly. And excuse me, messing this all up.
So,
yeah, we can cut that one out. So I was, when I brought it up to her, so that I wanted her to be aware that at any moment I might need to help out. And initially she was like, oh, okay, I think that's fine. Just don't go too long. And so it was more of like a casual, but as we were really serious about our relationship and we got engaged, then we really had to talk. We're like, hey, look, what do you really, what do you really think about this? And she says, I don't know, because I had already done a couple as we were engaged. It's like, and that was, I mean, we're not even living together yet. And she's like, man, you were gone too long that time. And I saw it coming. And I was like, I don't think this is sustainable. And I said, all right, I'll try to make it work. I'll never go more than 5 days. We just kind of, that was that new baseline of negotiating. And she said, okay. And I think she knew the whole time it was going down. You know what I mean? And she just didn't want to say it, to burst my bubble, And eventually, long story short on that, it got to that point where I just needed to be there way more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And I said, we're pulling the plug. And I instantly felt peace about it,
Yeah.
And so it was a downgrade, but it was, and we talked about this, like sometimes it doesn't look like it's healthy, but it really is. And we kind of talked about that yesterday. So that was a good move to keep it healthy and growing, you could say, part of the growing process, but it didn't necessarily look like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
We talked about this yesterday, but you mentioned that you guys have been very intentional this last year with building out systems for the company. So what specifically have you guys been building out with that? I know you mentioned that there wasn't a huge process with the leads that came in, stuff like that. So what has really changed in the last year for you guys that you're excited about?
Yeah, top of my mind, first big things that come to mind is our pricing. I had a business coach actually meet with me. I met him in November of last year. We sat down for an hour and I just laid it all out. This is who I am. This is our company. As if the company was a person, this is who I am. And this is where we're at. And you got to be honest in those moments first. Like if you can't be honest enough to tell someone that's already good at their field in that, you're already disappointing yourself, your company, and the growth that possibly could be there. So I just laid it out. I said, this is where we're at. This is the honest truth. And the things that I was passionate about that I believe were good, I laid it out. And a lot of those things kind of passed the test, like, because he's seen the success of other people that have good systems already or just good thoughts that aren't really good systems yet. And, he took everything in and he said, it sounds like the number one thing you need to do is adjust your pricing. I think you might have underestimated the market with where things are at. And here's the thing, is like, I know a lot of the clients very well, and I'm close to a lot of the clients. So I guess in a sense, I get sensitive to make sure they're okay, with pricing. But I had to get over that and understand there's a market for this, and which means if I need to pay someone a certain amount, I mean, it translates to where your low point is for what pricing should be at. And he helped me to discover what that good number is for us, and we found the right number. And that was the immediate first thing I did. I had to contact clients, and I was actually kind of shocked at how many clients were very easy with that. It kind of tells me that they really appreciate the work that we do, which is great. So that was number one. Other systems that have helped us is recruiting. And one of the things that he had said, because I kind of just like laid out on him just my frustrations with employee retention. I said, I don't know what to do. Everyone seems so exciting when they start working for my company. Am I really that bad of a person? Like, I would question my own character. It's like, is it me? Do I smell bad? And all these things. And he just said, look, you're not the only industry that struggles with that. Number one, we're in a time right now where a lot of people just like to just hop around. They'll do things for a while. They just don't want to commit long term. Fear of committing long term. It's all there. It's not just you. So I felt better about myself, but then the same question was still there. Like, what can I do? What system can there be?
Right, yeah.
And he just gave me this thing. He's like, what do you do when someone quits? I said, well, hopefully they give me a 2-week notice. He's like, what if you don't have that? Because that is a struggle too with some people. They don't get that all the time. And I said, well, if they don't give me a 2-week notice, I'm kind of screwed. And I get out there and I'm a cleaner for 2 weeks, and the office work, like, it just goes backwards. And I do what I can at bare minimums for 2 weeks. And that doesn't do anything to help anybody, because then I'm stressed. I'm texting too quick. I'm not being who I am. I'm just trying to, it's a hustle again. I thought the hustle was done. The hustle is year one just to get yourself up, maybe 2 to 3 years in some industries. But like, don't revert all the way back to hustle mode. Have a system. And so he said, always be recruiting. That was the thing that I just still think about, is I'm always interested to know if someone's interested with cleaning, because I know there might be a need that comes up. Am I hoping someone quits? No. Am I hoping some tragedy comes and someone has to leave for a while and we immediately? No. I just simply know the bottom line is there is a timeline that is just a pattern to where if it's always been an issue to find somebody, why can't I have almost like a Rolodex or some sort of information data on the side that can say these people are interested if something comes available. No harm in that. Start talking to people. It might not turn out. It might be 80% of them you never talk to again. They find something else. They're great. But what about that other 20%? If there's 100 of them, that's 20 people ready to go. And they fit all the boxes. You already talked to them. You sat down with them. You spent time with someone that you might never ask. But just imagine when that next time comes where I had to go out there for 2 weeks and do it all myself, they could have been right there ready to go. So always recruiting is just a phrase that's helped. The system that I've had is I will already have a few people on a list, and right now it's small because in the last year I've discovered this, but let's just say right now there's about 10 people that are on the radar. Like if anything happens at any moment, there's interest. The Indeed ads that we have from time to time, I will just create a new position and I will make it low hours, not a lot, but they might just be extra. And almost always hours open up after about 90 days. So they start with us, all of a sudden there's an opening that comes up. And then I do happen to know a lot of times too with some employees where it's seasonal, where they're in school and I know that there's an end of the line coming. And we've already talked about that. So it's actually a very respectable way to know, like, hey, you've already told me the school's here. In good faith, let's plan a good exit plan because we got 6 months left. I'm going to add someone to the team. They're going to join you. They're going to help learn the system with you.
Yep.
And let's just throw them in there. That investment up front pays dividends later down the road. So,
do you see some of those people come back around if it ends in spring, picks back up in fall?
What do you mean?
So if someone's there for school, they leave at the end of the spring semester, and then do they come back in the fall semester and pick back up with you ever? Or
Oh, right. So typically that doesn't happen, but there have been times where when they're off school, like for the summer, they'll say, hey, I'm not in school for the summer. You got anything? I'll add them for extra. There's always something little extra. It's not a lot,
Yep.
but just side jobs that come up. One-time deep cleans, some move out cleans that come up during the summers a lot. So I'll be like, yeah, and it's more like extra relief personnel, and they just understand the expectations for hours or something. But they love that. It's something better than nothing, and they already know how to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually like to keep those relationships intact. If I know that they're still around for the summer, there might be a break or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys using a CRM or any type of billing platform that you found really fits what you guys are doing? Or,
Invoicing?
Any of it.
So-
For keeping track of contacts, scheduling, all that good stuff.
I mean, I've just gotten used to using Google. We started with Google. We Google everything. We're Google Sheets. Like
Yeah.
the Sheets app, I can't even say it. The Sheets app is like my go-to for scheduling. So we allow our employees to see the schedule organically. That's a scary thing, right? In real time, they see it all. I like to be vulnerable with that one. It's worked very well because it keeps the availability at peak optimum level, so that if there's none of these like last minute call outs, they already know to look ahead to see what's coming and ask me in advance. So we have the respect with each other to say, I know that's a big day, but it's 3 months away. I need that off. And I tell them, like, I'm glad we had the access for you to see that, because I'd hate to get weird at the end. It happens.
Yep.
Last minute call out. I got some, it is what I understand what it's like to have that temptation. So we try to avoid those things by giving access to the schedule. With Google, just a lot of like documents, Google Docs. I'll create all our accompanying protocols, save it on a hard drive. But QuickBooks is what we do for invoicing.
Yep.
Everything is filtered in through there. Customer contacts are saved, all the information, payment, whatever. So we love QuickBooks. So
Yeah.
So
Nice.
well worth it.
Yeah. It's a good way to keep the overhead low too.
Yes. Yeah, it's $100 something a month, $120 a month.
Yeah.
That's well worth it.
I was
to me.
even thinking on the Google Sheets side.
Oh yeah.
So there's a contractor I used to work for, and he had a software that they were using. And as I was looking to go out on my own, I was looking into what does it cost on a monthly basis, annual basis to use it, because it was fantastic. It did all the, you could create the invoice for the customer inside, you could create change orders, create the schedule so they can see each trade in there. The amount of stuff that you could do, you could pay all your subcontractors. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem was that when I went to go check the pricing, it was $1,000 a month for what I was looking at, and I was like, I don't have that kind of money to be throwing into this.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out, all right, how do we work around this or find a way to kind of put it together? And so, it was QuickBooks. It was a couple other things that were Google Sheets, Monday.com, stuff like that. So
yeah, it's just I got in a habit, and the one thing I will say with scheduling is I know that there's apps that we in the future will want to invest into. It's just we're low six-figure revenue. We're not that big at this point. It's very manageable. So we'll save where we can for now
Yep.
to invest later into something like that, because those are big time investments when you involve with that. And then just the time to switch, that's daunting.
Yep.
And that's going to take me away for a while to do a test phase mode to make sure it's the right app, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Because I like to test things before we implement.
Yep.
So yeah, this is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
happy about that.
I was in the same boat where I'm like, I show some people, I'm like, hey, here's what we're doing. And they might look at it and be like, huh. But I'm like, I don't pay that much for any of it, and it works. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. It works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's the thing. Getting back to systems is that a realistic system for where I'm at? Because every company has a different growing stage of where they're at. For this stage, that one seems to work well with us, and other ones you can see where you're outgrown something, and you just need to switch, and you just feel it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any criteria for the clients that you take on? Are there clients that you steer away from? And what does that look like?
We definitely do. I used to take on any work, like we talked about the box truck with the real estate company where I'm doing trash haul. We don't trash haul, number one. So the client that we specifically try to target is it's all interior, it's recurring. It can be one time. We're okay with that. Move out cleans are one time, all the time. But if it's not, if the majority of what we want to do is biweekly, monthly, quarterly, it's fine, but those are the ones that we want to invest into. And specifically, like in our service area, it's big. Something lately in the last year is I've even taken the right client in the wrong area just to add a new client. I mean, gas. Like, I've had cleaners quit just because the driving. It's just insane. And we do reimbursement, but there's wear and tear on their vehicle, and they're using their own vehicle. We don't have company vehicles. We're not to that level. If I get to that or not, that's another conversation for later. And so when they're required to use their own vehicle, it's like they're driving personally on it so much, plus they're driving 45 miles sometimes. I gotta hone in on that. So our service area extends, like, the most you drive one way is about 40 minutes max, but 40 miles can take over an hour. So we tighten that up. So the right area, the right kind of work, the recurring, and if it fits the four kinds that we do, whether it's a move out, whether it's a vacation rental, whether it's the recurring basic recurring cleaning, or if it's of course, I missed the last one, the office. We do small, medium-sized offices, which is kind of funny to say that from me, because our only commercial client right now is very large. It's a church that's a school that's 200,000 square feet. We do cleaning Monday through Friday throughout the year. And that one client represents about 28% of our overall revenue.
Oh, wow.
We don't take on big clients. We took that one on, and it's the perfect fit because I know the people at that location. It's my church that I go to. We're not geared to take on big clients like that. Smaller, medium-sized offices would fit the niche that we're looking for. So if it's in that area, we would love to take it on. So, yeah.
Wanted to switch gears a little bit more, just business in general. I know we talked a lot about specifically for the industry, but how do you view yourself as a businessman with your strengths as you lead your company?
So first, it's the character is the most important thing, who you are as a person, just beyond your business. Like, coming in to have my own business, I wanted to make sure that if I'm doing a work, I'm going to do it faithfully. I'm going to do it with the integrity that I'm called to have, that God has given to us through the example of Jesus Christ. And that example is the baseline foundation of every decision that I want to be able to make. And does that mean that everything's done well? Absolutely not. We are imperfect people that serve a perfect God, and so we learn as we go. And what I wanted to do is make sure that connection is strong before involving other people and hiring other people. If I'm going to take on a big responsibility and oversight of things of that nature, I want to make sure that the integrity of the decision making that I have is lining up with God consistently. And so when I made that decision to have a company, that was where it was at. I had people encourage me, and this is a personal thing. Anybody else, I'm not requiring someone to have the same standard. We all have different beliefs.
Yeah, this is just your view.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from, because I have a tendency to speak in a way where I'm trying to tell someone else to be the same. That's something I've also learned. But coming from that foundation, get back to the specific question you're asking, because I want to make sure I answer that specifically.
Yeah, how do you view yourself as a businessman in the role that you're in specifically?
Yes, as a businessman, it's just I love to do business. I think it's part of the calling I have is to be in the business field and to build good relationships, and it's about networking. You find people that that are interested in doing it with you. I believe doing it well means that you are sharing. You're not just taking and holding. I think it's a great community when you have a good network of people around you that are passionate to do work and business well. So yeah, to me, and the word faithful just keeps ringing out in my spirit, like from day one. Because I had somebody, one of my friends, business coaches, tell me before I started to hire someone, they said, if you simply are faithful in doing what you say you're going to do, if you just do that alone, you're going to be 10xing over so many other people, because eventually those people get found out when things are not done faithfully. And so he said, just stay faithful, even if it hurts. You got a little thing up here on the wall. If you aren't willing to suffer alone in the dark, don't expect to celebrate in the light. I can't tell you how many times I've been alone, hurting and suffering because I had to stick to being a faithful person. And it hurt. It didn't feel good. It doesn't always feel good. But in business, stick to that like so strong, because the reward's there. And at the end of the day, if you don't necessarily see the exact reward of every time you suffer, you still know you're being faithful. And I still know I'm being faithful to God in that moment. And that just gives me peace. So there's my reward if I don't see a natural, physical, thing turn up years later as a reward that I've been hoping for, So hope that sums that up.
Yeah, that's perfect. So we talked a little bit about with you putting a lot of these procedures in place that you guys were hoping to see some growth in 2025 particularly. So what are you looking at are going to be some of the constraints, or do you feel like you guys have unlocked most of them this past year to really set yourself up going into 2025?
So I like to think very big. And if I don't hit that big goal and there's growth, that's still a win, honestly. So my big picture is I know we're capable to double. We could double revenue in a year. I know it's possible. Is that if you want to look at the percentage chance of that actually happening, I don't get involved with that kind of stuff, but it might not actually turn out that way. But I think the systems that so far that I've developed, it's definitely a 20% growth or more. I just have a goal of, I believe it could double with where we're at. And the two biggest things, of course, is the profitability, because that helps me invest into the things that I just thought, well, we're not ready for that. I can hire an extra person, and it's affordable to do that if the profitability is there with our new pricing. So that instantly opens up new clients, new doors for new clients and revenue, and always recruiting. Just getting out there. Like I'm an introvert. Like I can be alone for a long period of time and you'd be just fine. I could be just fine. And going to socialize, if my battery's not full, it's impossible. So I have to be ready for those. And but I do love to interact with other people. It's just a matter of just getting my battery full, go out there, meet people, get excited about opportunity, because you never know, like that one person that you met out of 100 could literally be the reason why things got to that double point, that one connection you were missing that you didn't know was going to be there. You just go and believe every single one of them is important, because they honestly are. Whether or not you see anything from that one encounter, everyone's important. Everyone has something to say. Get out there, ask questions, and see what their needs are. And if you can meet them, well, there's probably a good relatability that they can have with you, and they can fill some needs that we're looking for too. You never know. So networking by recruiting and always recruiting, and the profitability. I think those two things now have set us forward in the right direction. So
That's awesome.
yeah, well, we will see what happens.
Yeah. So that's next year. The goal is if we
Yep.
can get that to double, that's
Yeah.
perfect. 5 to 10 years, casting a longer vision. What do you see for you guys?
Yeah, so 5 to 10 years, I definitely want to be training leaders. One of my passions is to be a great leader, and I would love to be able to. I'm going to get older. I'm 41. So as I get older, 5 to 10 years, I'm not going to want to do the same exact things I do. That if it's a physical thing I do with my body, get out there and clean, help train, I'm going to need some leaders that can do that I can pour into. So I want to be able to get to a point where I'm entrusted to be a good leader to somebody that already has a lot of responsibility in our company, which is going to mean that both divisions that we have are going to be flourishing, doing well, and having those systems thrive. Maybe to a sense where we might have to be like, whoa, 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 let's not go so fast. I would love to have a point like that. I call that good problems. When you have a lot of good problems around, like, let's not go so quick. I love what's happening here, but let's keep our foundation strong. I feel like there's a gatekeeping that I'll be able to have to be able to look around, see the big picture, see the leaders, and know the biggest needs to be able to help to say, whoa, 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 this division here, are we over recruiting? Like, why are you getting so many people involved? Like, let's just hone this down. You're taking on too many jobs, or you're extending our service area too far. I don't know, things like that, and just probably be a reminder of our core values, and just to make sure every single one of those other leaders knows that they're valued, and spend the time with them. Just, we're not what we do is work. They have families. A lot of our life is, spending the time that we have with the ones that we love, and how can I help you do that better for your family? I know we do a work together, but let's just sit down and talk about it and get to know each other. And I think that just makes people good workers if you do that the right way. It's like, and it's not a manipulative thing. It's just a value thing. It's just the end result of it. It's just natural.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, we've got 5 quick questions for you.
Oh boy.
What's the most impactful thing you've learned?
Impactful thing that I've learned. I mean, it keeps coming back to faithfulness. Be faithful in all you do. It's just do it well. Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Forrest Gump. There's so much in that. There's comedy. You'd cry every time. There's so much good comedy. There's so much depth to it. It involves so many historical moments in there, and you just can't help but just root for him every time he's going through something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your first character strength that comes to mind?
Character strength. Assertiveness, if I can call that a character strength. I think being assertive, rather than being direct and aggressive, I think assertiveness is something where and it's great in business and great in relationships in general, is just be confident in what you know to be the truth, and there's a way of doing it where you can be kind, but I just like to be assertive with the right mindset, and know how to do that well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Favorite part about Arizona besides family?
Besides family. Okay.
Besides
all
family.
right. Okay. I mean, I love to golf. Some of the golf courses out here are unmatched. I like it that the desert is right outside the grass. Like, a lot of people don't like that. Yeah. I just like a good challenge, right? Yeah. You got to hit it straight, man. Otherwise, you're in the junk, man. Javelinas. Watch out.
Yeah. If someone's in Florida and wanted to follow you guys or get in contact with you, where could they do that?
I wish I had a lot of those outlets. We'll get there. So the email and Facebook is probably the biggest ways. admin@localcleaningco.com.
Perfect.
Direct email. And our Facebook page, Local Cleaning Co. I think if you just type it in, it's going to pop it up like that. So as you can tell, the way I speak that is, we don't have a lot of access to the social stuff yet, and we'll get that.
Don't worry,
we'll get that.
That's more than some of the people we've had on the podcast where they're like, yeah, we don't do anything.
My number is...
Do you have a website? Do you have a phone number? They're like, not really. And
we do have a website too, localcleaningco.com. There you go. And the Tennessee division is closed.
So when you look on there, do not be calling from Tennessee. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Thanks everyone for listening. And until next time, I hope your hammer stays accurate, your Wi-Fi fast, and your work blessed. See everybody.